Good morning, everybody. Enter the stars. Apologies for those sound issues over the last couple of videos, but it should all be fixed now. I try to get all the life that I can out of these laptops before purchasing a new one. And the last one that I was using was a hand-me-down that worked for as long as it did. And then, as with all these electronic devices, they end up slowly breaking over time. Anyway, I have a new laptop and everything should be perfect. Now, before we get into today's show, understand that there has been a recent development going on with Virginia Giuffre. Apparently, they're trying to say that she took her own life. We're going to read this article. Now, this just happened less than 24 hours ago. If you haven't heard by now, channels have started to report on this. Have you guys heard what happened to Virginia Giuffre? Now, we had just covered her like 2 weeks ago. She was in Australia, and there was apparently, she said, a bus like ran her off the road. And then we had some kind of bizarre, like Freemasonic bus driver who was totally, didn't even know what was going on with the whole situation. Because had he known what was going on with the situation, he wouldn't have said some of the things that he said. He was basically gaslighting her. Now, all of this could be fake. Understand that all of this could be fake. I always had my questions about her because why did they pick her as the poster child for all this, right? She was 17 at the time. In many countries, that's legal age. Not that I condone that, but in other countries, it's like legal. So there were so many other people they could have chosen to represent what happened on Epstein Island. They could have chosen girls that were like 12 years old at the time, 10. I mean, we know that this was happening, right? Or they could have focused on maybe some unsolved murders associated with the case. That would have been a lot more powerful than what we were given, Virginia Giuffre. And I'm not trying to take anything away from her. I'm just saying, if she is real, they could have chosen someone else to be the poster child for that whole era of the United States history, the largest trafficking ring in U.S. history that went all the way to the top. And still, we have no justice. Now we're all distracted with tariffs and all these other things that don't really matter. So she was in Australia. Now, we had even exposed Australia years ago because one of the Podesta brothers was like really high up. He was like, what do they call that? When you go to another country and you like represent the United States. He was an ambassador to Australia and he spent a lot of time there. And so what ended up happening is we thought to ourselves, there's a lot of trafficking going on in Australia. We wondered if he was connected to that. Remember, we exposed all that. We showed his association with known traffickers. And we had like pictures of one of the Podesta brothers, like shaking hands with this guy and all this stuff, right? This was like 6-7 years ago. So I'm just giving you the backdrop of how all this went down with Virginia Giuffre. So what was she doing in Australia? That's a really good question, right? There's probably a cover story or an answer that they gave us, but what was she doing in Australia? Not to say but if you were trafficked at a young age, why would you go to a country where there was known trafficking? It would be like, it's kind of the same thing as, let's say she went to Thailand. Right? We know that's going on over there. That would be weird. We'd be like, you're a former trafficked child. Like, why would you go to Thailand and be around all that? You'd be triggered around every single corner. So this is what's going on. The bus driver, she claimed she was in the hospital. She claimed a bus driver ran her off the road, and then he was completely out of the loop with the history of her case. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reacted the way he did. But he basically called her a crazy nut job and challenged her whole story. And then we had the hospital pictures, which for a lot of people didn't even look real. They're like, why would they let her wear that in a hospital with all that bruising on her face? And some people thought maybe it was makeup. And then she said something about she was on her deathbed. Remember that? Said she had like kidney failure. So this is a little bit of the history behind this whole case. So now they're saying she took her own life. Let's read this. Virginia Giuffre, accused Britain's Prince Andrew and Epstein case trafficking scandal, has died. This was April 25th. This was right during the smiley face moon, crescent moon conjunction with Venus and Saturn as the two eyes. So weird. Virginia Giuffre and other was accused Britain's Prince Andrew and other influential men of sexually exploiting her as a teenager. Trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, has died. She was 41, died by suicide at her farm in Western Australia. So she had a farm there. So that's what she was doing there, apparently. She was a fierce warrior in the fight against sexual abuse, sex trafficking. Now, I don't know what the status of the case was, how far they got, if there was any money paid out to her yet. But typically what these rich and wealthy people do is they'll drag these things on in the courts for as long as they can, hoping that the victim will die. They try not to pay out. They hide all their money. This is just insane. So there's the update if you hadn't heard that. Now, what else is going on? Well, we're going to continue on with this decode string of decodes that we were doing. Basically, I put all of our 5-minute or less Trump videos, Trump decodes, into a playlist going all the way back to 2016. And it was actually a year before he was elected president. I think he was already campaigning at that point. So today is part 2. And part of part 2, we will dig into this bizarre Stargate portal, Stargate AI, the standing stones. We were talking about all that long before Trump named the Stargate AI program. And I'm going to show you definitive proof that the standing stones that are 14 miles away from his mother's house is in fact a Stargate. Now, what that actually means, I'll get into that. But today is part 2. And this brings us well into the Trump presidency. 2018 is when this next video kicks off. We're going to try to get through the rest of these today. Now, let me give you a quick recap. Thursday was part 1, if you missed it. And that took us from, again, January 2016 all the way until 2019. And let me give you a quick recap on that. Essentially, we had basically connected JFK, the JFK assassination, in 2 or 3 separate videos to Trump, which seemed to foreshadow the fake assassination attempt. So we're already talking about JFK related to Trump. It showed up in like Back to the Future, and then there was a couple of other references to him as well. We also seemed to predict the first and second presidencies through our number decodes on the numbers 58 and 66. And then, of course, he would go on to win both 58 years and 66 years after 1958. So that was something we were talking about before it happened. There are also various decodes on needles years before the COVID vaccine needle, as well as, I think, probably one of the most profound decodes that we did years before COVID was when we connected Trump to Hillary Clinton through a 19th cousin who had a fake cough. The 19th cousin is John of Gaunt, so COVID-19, fake cough. And he wrote a poem all about coughing and venom, snake venom. So if you missed part 1, you're going to definitely want to watch that. Now let's pick up where we left off and see what else we exposed before it happened. Now, in this next one, this is World War III decode. Now, this is pertinent because Trump is now saying that Russia does not want to end the war. He's now conceding. He's throwing in the towel, at least this week. Every week it kind of changes. Remember, at first he said he could end the war in 24 hours. That didn't happen. And now he's saying Russia doesn't want to end the war. They're not acting as if they do. So throwing in the towel. So this is pertinent right here. And so we're going to play this next video. This is from 2018. You guys, let's take a look at this. What the heck? Let's fix this for you guys. Make it a little bit smaller. All right, here we go. September 12th, 2018. This was an American Horror Story episode called The End. Let's keep watching. 21 days before Trump sent out an emergency cell broadcast. Watch closely. So this aired before. So these, of course, are the actors in American Horror Story. They're in a hair salon. Here is the emergency broadcast number.
Am I the first one to get this cut? Because I'm working on becoming an Instagram influencer, and so my hairstyle has to be on point.
Who cares how many followers you have? You're a billionaire.
That's my father's money. I need to make something of myself.
Billionaire, father's money. There's the first clue. Don't worry, it gets way more specific.
Take a sip so we can post. Cold pressed juice is trending super hard right now. You're going to get like 10,000 likes in 10 minutes.
Cold pressed juice. Of course, Ivanka Trump had just posted something about cold pressed juice. We can make it at home. Let's keep watching.
You're supposed to be my personal assistant, Mallory.
A little bit of a looser connection, but she's got this tee and the striped pin suit on her tie here.
What the fuck?
Of course, a real emergency broadcast kicks off in the episode 21 days before a real emergency broadcast came out from Trump. This one in the TV show says ballistic missile threat inbound to Los Angeles. This is not a drill. At 2:47, Trump would also become the 47th president. And this came out in 2018, you guys. Let's keep watching here. Here's the real presidential alert. It was at 2:18 on October 3rd. Now, October 3rd has 89 days left in the year, and in some years, in most years, it has 88 days left in the year. Let's keep watching.
No, it's bullshit. It's a hoax. It's like that time in Hawaii. They're going to text in like a minute with a retraction.
Look up and listen. The missile alert is real. In less than an hour, Los Angeles is going to be an empty crater.
Hey, Daddy, you're scaring me.
Gets more specific. Let's keep watching. You're going to hear Donald's name.
Esmeralda, the champagne's burnt again. Where are you going? You know I pay you for a 10-hour day.
I have to go home, Mrs. Evie. It's the end of the world.
There's your illegals. I got a great deal on these workers, says Trump. Keep watching.
When he ran MGM, your grandfather, God rest his soul, would never return calls until the following day.
The government sent a warning.
MGM Grand, there, which is obvious because that relates to Trump. Let's keep watching.
Missiles are coming.
Well, so's global warming. Well, it's probably fake news. I'm going to call Donald.
No, this is...
It's probably fake news. I'm going to call Donald. No, this is...
It's probably fake news. I'm going to call Donald. So obviously, slam dunk. Now, why would the president of the United States in 2018 copy an American Horror Story episode to send out an emergency broadcast that lines up with an episode? Well, this is called sorcery. It's gaslighting. It's MAGA magic. Let's keep watching.
It's real, Grandma. People are going to die today.
Of course, all the planes are going down under the second presidency. Let's keep watching.
Yeah, I'm buzzing too. Honey?
Haven't you been watching the news?
No, what's going on?
It's World War III.
It's World War III.
What?
Hong Kong, London, numerous sites in the Baltics and Moscow have all been hit and destroyed by nuclear ICBMs.
So there you go, World War III. Now, let's hop off of that and go to this next episode. This was dated October 20th, 2018. And here's where we get into the Scottish standing stone Stargate, which is now conclusively connected to Trump through the Stargate AI data center project, $500 billion. It is being built as we speak right now in Abilene, Texas. So, what is this about? Well, this is pretty powerful, because what you're going to see next is how we connected Trump's Scottish roots to time travel, Stargates, in several Scottish TV series and movies that depicted all of this years before Trump named the Stargate AI project. These are the standing stones of Callanish, and they exist in an inverted cross. An inverted cross shape. Here they are, right here. An inverted cross. And it's inverted from due north. Now, what's up with this? Well, this is one of several sites of these standing stones in Scotland. Here are all the sites. The main site is like right here, and there are many of these stones all around Scotland. But what makes this interesting is that these stones exist very close to where Trump's mother was born, in Scotland. In fact, they're only 14 miles away at a 77-degree heading from where she was born. And as you'll see in these old decodes, it's definitively connected to what was going on with pagan ritual. And they literally call this place a Stargate in this article. When was this article dated? Let's take a look at this. I think we covered this article in one of these old decodes too. This was dated May 26th. And look at this. The original, whoops, sorry about that. The original Stargate. Let's zoom this. Whoa, I can't see it. Oh, every time I try to zoom it, it moves the page. Hold on. Let's try this instead. Thank God for this new computer. Gee, Christmas. We were struggling, weren't we? Couldn't zoom, couldn't play videos. This went on for like a year. So thank the Lord for providing. God always provides. And there's very important work we need to get done here, and it needs to come through crystal clear. It says the original Stargate. So there's no question about this. So we were talking about this before Trump named the Stargate. Now, let me check in with you guys, and we'll get into these videos here, you guys. What the heck is going on? Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, this was affecting our stream. It was affecting our chat. I just want to give thanks to the Most High for this, because he is amazing. Keeps us going, doesn't he? All right. So apparently, yeah, obviously the sound is probably much better. Let's keep going, you guys. Let's play this next video. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay, here we go.
So I'm on the third season of a show called Outlander, and I made a stunning discovery. Now, this is the top show on Stars. Weird, right? I believe this 2014 series is all about the rise of the Trump presidency, accurately depicting his mother as the character Claire Fraser from the Isle of Lewis in Scotland. Now, what makes this even more intriguing is that this film is all about a circle of stones through which time travel is possible. The stones depicted in the series are in the very place where Donald Trump's mother was born. This is a chapter right out of Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey. This is Scotland. These are the standing stones on which Outlander, the Star series, was based, right out of the Isle of Lewis. And here's where Trump's mother was born, 14 miles and 77 degrees away. Now, in the book and the series, the stones were associated with druidic witchcraft, human sacrifice, and dark magic. Sacrifice was required to travel through the stones for certain people. Notice the 58-degree north parallel of the stones. And of course, Trump Tower is 58 stories tall. Now we know why. It was an ode or recognition to his Gaelic roots. Now, his mother died at 88 years old. So now we have a Back to the Future scenario. Biff as Trump. Now, Trump is very proud of his Scottish heritage, and he's invested heavily in Scotland. In fact, he spoke in Scotland 88 days after the 88th day of the year about his Scottish investments. And in 2008, he visited the Isle of Lewis, the place where the standing stones are and his mother was born, to see his mother's home. But we're just at the tip of the iceberg with this. The series centers around a great battle between the Redcoats and the Highlanders of Scotland, who wanted independence from England. Claire knows that the final Jacobite rebellion will end in the defeat and the end of the Highland way of life through the evictions of the clans. And she knows this because she traveled back in time. So the history books talked about this Jacobite rebellion and how it failed. Well, Trump's great-grandparents were at the center of what was called the Highland clearances, which were the result of the Jacobite rebellion. The exact same plot as Outlander is mirrored in the history of Trump's family. So, were there any characters in the book or the film who shared the same last name as Trump's mother? Yes, there were. Granny MacLeod. That was Trump's mother's maiden name. And Granny MacLeod died in the arms of the time traveler, Claire Fraser. The fictional MacLeod sharing the same surname as Trump's mother. Now, of course, there's a lot of MacLeods in Scotland, but we're talking about a specific series from a specific place, a specific time. Claire and Trump's mother even shared the same occupations and life experiences. They were both domestic servants, hospital volunteers, spoke Gaelic, involved in real estate. Claire Fraser helped Jamie, her husband, collect the taxes for the tenants at Lollybrock Estates. And they also work with disabled adults and an affinity for helping the downtrodden and the disabled. Trump's parents lived in Jamaica Estates, an upper middle class area of Queens, New York. And in the fictional character, Claire traveled to Jamaica to rescue her husband's relative. In fact, much of the third season is set en route to or in Jamaica, where Claire buys a slave actually to set him free. Trump's mother was mugged on Halloween 1991 and suffered long-term injuries for the remainder of her life. Now let's get into Claire's husband, Jamie, in the series. Her husband, I believe, is the Trump character. He's a Scot with red hair who battles the English through much of the first couple seasons. He's a Highlander from Scotland, fighting for their independence and freedom and rights. But then later in his life, he becomes a Freemason printer, as you can see here. So how does this stack up against Trump? Well, 3 of Trump's friends in this bar mitzvah picture joined the elite, just as Trump would. And 2 of his friends in this picture were printers. Let's take a look at Trump's grade school multimillionaire elementary school friends. Mr. Eric P. Seven, president of Petro Incorporated, a subsidiary of Petroleum Heat and Power Incorporated since November 1979, chief executive officer and chairman of the board of Petroleum Heat and Power Company since January 93, and executive officer of Energy Gas LLC, president of Ortep of Pennsylvania Incorporated and Petrol Crystal Petroleum Company, Inc. Next on the list, Peter Bryant, who's worth $500 million. He's the chairman of White Birch Paper and CEO of Brant Publications. And finally, Paul Onish, president CEO at the Envelope Printer Company.
Wow, that guy was from Jamaica Estate, same place where Trump grew up. This other guy, they're all printers. It's just like the TV series. Let's keep watching.
I don't know about you, but nobody in my grade school pictures went on to be a multimillionaire, let alone 4 of my friends in one picture. I guess we didn't go to the right schools. We're supposed to believe he's not one of them. And I argue he's the very definition of one of them. So what does this all mean? A 2014 series that so closely resembles the life of a man that wouldn't be president for almost 3 years. Stories of time travel, witchcraft, human sacrifice, and political drama. It could mean nothing, or it could mean everything. One thing's for sure, nothing is what it seems. Take care and be safe, you guys.
This is them stranded on a piece of driftwood. Looks like a double cross out in the middle of the ocean. If you haven't seen this series, it's pretty interesting. Outlander is the name of the series. Let's keep watching here. They're there in the eye of the storm. Wow.
And the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day.
How do you take a trip like that?
Now, Claire Fraser, in real life, she was born on October 4th with 88 days remaining in the year. This is the actress Katrina Balfe, born on October 4th. Let's keep watching her. Here they are watching the quote-unquote moon landing.
And come back to life as you knew.
And let it divide the waters from the water. And let it divide the waters from the water. And God made the firmament. And God made the firmament. And divided the waters which were...
I had been, in many ways, further than the moon, on an even more impossible journey. But maybe it was enough to have gone one.
But maybe it was enough to have gone one. We close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you.
Now, before we get into this next video, so obviously there you saw the moon programming people. Oh, maybe it was enough to have gone once, even though we never went to begin with, in my opinion. And this is to make people think, oh, we already did that. We don't have to do it again. So they don't have to prove to us that they went. And of course, you heard the firmament reference, the direct reference to the firmament spoken by an astronaut, I guess. I didn't know that they read Bible verses in some of these, but they're basically mocking us. They know they can't get past the firmament. And so that was a little clue. Now, I'm going to continue to tie in this Stargate that we were covering in 2018 to Trump's current Stargate AI program. Here we go. Here's the next one. Solved. Why Trump is depicted as a time-traveling Biff in Back to the Future, Scotland. Let's watch this next video. Now, what I'm showing you here is from the movie Highlander. And there on the flag is a burning mountain. Watch this. It's literally in the MacLeod clan flag. Mid-15th century arms of Torquil's descendants, the MacLeods of Lewis. That's Trump's mother's maiden name. This is from the film Highlander. Burning mountain.
I am Conor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. I was born in 1518 in the village of Glenfinnan on the shores of Loch Shiel, and I am immortal.
Happy Halloween, ladies.
So remember, his mother was mugged on Halloween. Let's keep watching.
Trump Highlander Matrix revealed. This amazing story begins in the 1986 film Highlander, starring Christopher Lambert. Lambert plays the Highlander Conor MacLeod, the same clan surname of Trump's mother. Lambert and I share the same birthday, the 88th day of the year, March 29th, as does the wrestler pictured in the opening scenes. The film is about time travel, or at least the next best thing. Extended life that transcends generations.
I gotta pause myself here. This is just shocking. This is chilling. This is absolutely chilling. Wrestling, and then Trump would go on to be part of the McMahon and the wrestling and all that stuff. Let's keep watching here.
From the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries.
Bring victory to the Clan MacLeod! MacLeod! Victory to MacLeod!
Living many secret lives, struggling to reach the time of the gathering.
When only a few of us are left, we will feel an irresistible pull towards a faraway land. To fight for the prize.
And the few who remain will battle to the last. No one has ever known we were among you.
Here we are, born to be kings.
It was then I realized that the pool was the portal.
Wow.
The connections between the TV series Outlander and the film Highlander are also very present. Both plots center around timeless beings. And Trump, whose mother was born 14 miles away from and 77 degrees from these time-traveling stones, is at the center of this story. What is it about these stones? Does time travel really represent the immovable bloodlines that rule the world? Or is there more to this? The star of Outlander, the TV series, Claire Fraser, was born with 88 days remaining in the year on October 4th. This is the mirror birthday of the Highlander main character and the Freebirds wrestler we just talked about. And now you are finally beginning to understand that the number 88 represents time travel.
There can be only one!
Here in more of the opening scenes, we see a flag with the red flames on a blue mountain that are specific to the coat of arms of the ancient MacLeods of the Isle of Lewis. Now, there were many MacLeod clans in the Upper Highlands of Scotland, but only one with this specific coat of arms on the Isle of Lewis, the very small island where the time travel stones exist and Trump's mother was born 14 miles away. In other words, Trump's mother's ancient family coat of arms matches the one seen in Highlander, the film. So, in the film, he's banished from Scotland to New York. When he fails to die from a fatal wound, they think it's a kind of sorcery or witchcraft.
Whoa. He failed to die from a fatal wound, and they think it's witchcraft. That sounds like the bullet that would, quote unquote, graze Trump's face years after this Decode came out. Let's keep watching.
doesn't die. He transcends time. They banish him. They accuse him of being a witch. And we know that Trump's mother also immigrated from the Scottish Highlands to New York.
No banning here today! We'll banish him!
No!
McLeod!
He takes on the identity of an art dealer and lives on Hudson Street. Trump has apartments on Hudson Street.
You asked. I spent all night going through the old deeds to Nash's house on Hudson Street.
Here you see the 77 trucks. Remember, his mother was born 77 degrees from the time travel circle of the stones. And of course, we know all of the 77 synchronicities that are specific to Trump, as well as the 88 synchronicities. Now, the final battle in Highlander, the film, takes place at the famous Silver Cup Studios in Queens, New York, the very same city that Trump was born in. Now, this is where things get creepy, because Trump Tower was a few years old during the scene, and you can see it in the night skyline next to the Queensboro Bridge. In this final scene, as Highlander is rescuing the girl at the famed Silver Cup Studios sign, this is when it all comes together. In fact, Queen even performed the soundtrack for Highlander.
Broken glass? Is this like breaking the veil? Whatever Trump's bringing in with this Stargate AI, it's clearly being depicted. Let's keep watching. This whole scene being filmed with Trump Tower in the background.
Can you tell me about the prize?
It's like a whirlwind in my head. Presidents.
Presidents. Presidents.
Diplomats. Scientists. I can help them understand each other.
Crude and slow, clansmen, your attack was no better than that of a clumsy child.
Whatever you say, Jack. You're the master race.
You cannot die, MacLeod. Accept it.
Brandy. Bottled in 1783.
Treaty Paris of 1783, USA.
1783 was a very good year.
And this was basically Trump, within 2 hours of Trump's announcement that the U.S. will withdraw from the historic global deal to combat climate change. Wow. Keep watching.
1783 was a very good year. Mozart wrote his great mass.
It says here, President Trump, thank you so much. I'm honored to be joined Prime Minister. Sweden is one of our oldest and closest partners and was among the first European nations to offer United States an unsolicited treaty of friendship, a treaty signed in 1783. So it's very clear this is all connected to Trump. Let's keep watching.
The Montgolfier brothers went up in their first balloon. England recognized the independence of the United States.
Is that right?
Yes.
And here, to confirm our beliefs and findings, Tim Newark, an author, meets Donald Trump in Trump Tower, New York. They share Highland roots. Trump says of Tim's Highlander, "Great book. This is where I got my fighting spirit." And now you know the truth about the strange matrix that we live in. There is only one way out of this endless time loop, and that is Jesus Christ.
Now, let's pause the re-uploads and double down on these stones of Callanish just to round out the show, because there's a lot more videos that would bring us to the present, but we don't want to get bogged down in all the rest of the subject matter, because we're only, let's see, we got like 10 videos left. We'll cover those in a third part. Let's double down on these stones of Callanish, because this is very, very important. They're saying here that these stones, remember it's an inverted cross, that these stones were said to be petrified giants. They also say here that a shining one, they call him, let's go down here so you guys can see this, a shining one, they call it, walked the length of the avenue during midsummer, and his coming was heralded by the call of a cuckoo, like a chicken. So all this chicken programming, remember all the chicken programming that we've been covering, even how Trump was mocked as a chicken, and how Trump did the chicken for the chicken spoof on, what was it, Saturday Night Live. And he was mocked on Saturday Night Live by the guy who accidentally killed someone with a gun on the set. What's his name? Someone help me in the chat. And all the egg symbolism, the price of eggs, the Easter celebration with 30,000 eggs, is coming heralded by the call of a cuckoo. And look at pop culture and how these standing stones were depicted and referenced. It almost seems as every time it's used, the stones are used to blaspheme the Lord. It was on a 1984 album cover called Lament. Again, on a CD in 1988. So there's that time and space, year and number. And then in 1992, on an album called Jehovah Kill. Jehovah is one of the names of the Most High. Jehovah Kill. And this was all about, this album, because I looked it up, it was about basically trying to discredit the Most High and his son by saying that these standing stones predated Jesus by thousands of years, even though Jesus was crucified on a cross. Now, let's break that down a little bit, because this is very, very important. We know that the cross was established many, many thousands of years before Jesus was crucified. So just because a cross appears in the landscape or in ancient symbolism doesn't mean that Christ copied it, or it was a knockoff, or it was a made-up story. You guys, the cross was represented all the way back to the beginning of time. It was established by God as a symbol of what he knew his son would have to come do It's actually in the ancient Hebrew letters. The beginning and the end, the Aleph and the Tav. One of those is represented by a cross. Because God knew. In fact, the prehistoric 12 tribes of Israel laid out their encampment. All of the tribes laid out in the shape of a cross. And they were even pointing forward to Jesus dying on a cross because they sacrificed animals for their sins at the center of the cross of encampments to foreshadow Jesus being the final sacrifice dying for our sins. Also, you go back further, the mark of Cain was likely a variation on the cross. It's the OX symbol, an X and an O, which is the beast symbol. It's basically a crooked cross or a turned cross. And Jesus would undo this curse at the crucifixion. He would offer salvation to all men and all hybrid men if you believe. You can choose good. This is why God told Cain, you can choose good, even though sin is crouching at the door. And all of this was already known and spoken by the prophets. In Zechariah 9:9, the prophecy states, "Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout aloud, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, your king is coming to you, righteous, having salvation is he, humble, and mounted on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." And this is exactly how Jesus rode in on the donkey. Guess what's on the back of a donkey? Guess what's imprinted on the back of a donkey? Donkey back print. Let's see if that shows up. Oh, that's going to give us a t-shirt. Donkey fur markings or hide. I guess it's a hide. And here it is. So the cross was known long before those standing stones were erected. And here you see the aerial view of a donkey. And they all have a cross marked on their back. There you go. You can't make this up. So, Zechariah prophesied him riding in on a cross long before those stones were put there. And so now we have definitive proof debunking this assertion by these pagans that Jesus wasn't real and that he copied some kind of ancient symbolism. So the heathens can rage about seeing crosses before Jesus was ever crucified, but we all know that it was established since the beginning of time. Now, there are more mentions of these Callanish standing stones from death metal bands and, of course, Outlander, where the stones were used for time travel and paganism. Now, normally I don't do animations,
Get away with murder.
but this is from the movie Brave. And I already knew there were going to be Trump mentions before I ever screened this animation, because the standing stones of Callanish also appear in this animation. When did the animation come out? This is called Brave. Are you ready for this? It came out when Trump was 66 years old. And it actually even released right around the time of his birthday. It's all about the Scottish Highlands. In fact, Emma Thompson plays the mother of the girl, Merida, the main character. And guess how old Emma Thompson is right now? Let's go back into the chat. How old is Emma Thompson right now? She plays the mother in the film Brave. there are also Stargate mentions in the film Brave. We are going to cover that tomorrow. I'm going to show you connections to Arcturus, the bear. I'm going to show you how Arcturus is also a self-replicating mRNA technology that was just announced within the last few weeks that will likely be developed by Stargate AI. Yes, she is now 66 years old. I wish I was making all this up, but you can't. It's the Matrix. This is how God reveals the good and bad players in this reality. He does it through these synchronicities. For those with eyes to see, can clearly see what's happening and what's going on. We can identify these threats long before they happen, as I just demonstrated in today's show. How many listened? Well, mostly just the people on this channel. But that's what I wanted to show you guys today. Now, I've already got these clips pulled up for the animation. We will cover this tomorrow in great detail. This will be our decode tomorrow. And this one is chilling. All right, let's go back in here. All right, good morning, everybody. It's almost as if God has us decoding these things in real time. How is it that Emma Thompson is 66 years old in the movie? How old was she in the movie? That was 13 years ago. And then she's 66 now, and Trump was 66 when the movie came out in 2012, 13 years ago. It means that it was meant to be decoded right now. Thanks, Daryl. Alec Baldwin was mocking Trump as a chicken. Yes, that was correct. And I think that was Saturday Night Live. And then Trump did his own chicken episode on Saturday Night Live, which they erased. You can't even find that episode unless you search for it. It's like not in their official release of the episodes of Saturday Night Live. So, all right. Yes, 2012 was iPad Goat as well. Now, does anyone have any questions about all this? You might have to watch this twice. Yes, when Trump did the chicken dance. This all fits in with the KFC commercials, with the golden egg and the chickens and the golden dome, which is basically going to be a giant chicken egg. It all fits together, you guys. Vaccines being cultured in chicken eggs. The chicken flu. It's all connected. So, to end the show today, just quickly, because you might still be a little bit confused about how the standing stones are, in fact, a Stargate. In the series, they were used for time travel, but really, we determined they were about possession. Remember this? We had these discussions. I said, you know what, you guys, there is no such thing as really as time travel. It's demonic possession down through the ages. Demons hopping from one body into the next. And they do this when the veil is lowest. They go to these standing stone circles, and I don't know what the scientific or spiritual dynamic is to these stones. It could be celestial alignments. I don't know. But for some reason, on Samhain, when the veil is lowest, this is when the possession occurs. And so that all the pagans go into these places, and this is where they body hop. The demons can body hop from one body to the next to a new body through some kind of a sacrifice. And this is how they keep coming down through time, which is exactly the plot of Highlander. Highlander is the plot of that. It's, there can be only one. You heard them explaining it in their own words. The actors were talking about, we're waiting till the end of time. We're hopping down through bodies, down to the end of time. That was the exact plot. So now all this is starting to firm up, isn't it? It's all starting to create a story. These kings of the earth hopping down through time, possessed kings. And so Trump has to be one of these possessed kings. He has to be. I mean, there's no other explanation with all of the programming and symbolism, right? So, that's what it's about. Now, what is the current Stargate AI? Well, it's going to be a mass possession ritual. They need the computing power. They're probably going to use Stargate AI to open up a portal to allow these demons to come in and possess anybody they want. Now, you have to qualify, I guess, through a series of choices that some people have made by getting stuck with things, which make them susceptible to frequencies, and buying into artificial intelligence. Okay, so basically it's going to be demons speaking through the artificial intelligence, not just a random computer program. But people are going to believe it's just a random computer program. But really it's going to be demonic forces influencing our entire world, is, I think, when we get down to the bottom of it. And there'll be some component of this that will possess people as well. So they're going to roll this out to the rest of us. So what protection do you have? Well, it's obvious. Those of us that believe in the Most High and His Son and the gospel are protected. No weapon shall prosper, but those outside of it are susceptible. So we're going to see all this activity start to pop off here in the coming months and weeks and years. Many of us have already seen a change in people. We've already seen it after the pandemic. So, yes, just believe we have authority over all this stuff to tread on serpents. But if you buy the lie and you think, oh, Casey, you're just making all this up, Trump's good. He cares about us. Or if you believe in the other side, oh, Obama's good. He cares about us. He believes. He's a real Christian. You're going to be deceived based on everything that I just showed you. Now people can say, oh, they're just trolling Trump. Now, I would agree with you if everything that I just showed you came out after he became president. I would say, oh, they're just trolling Trump. Or that's a logical explanation. They're just making things up to make him look bad. But no, these decodes in this programming goes back to when Trump was like a child. Literal child. You guys, Trump was 17 years old when JFK died. And the JFK memorial is shaped like the letter Q from the air. And it's aligned exactly to 66 degrees. 17, Q is the 17th letter. It's shaped like a giant Q from the sky, and it's aligned to 66 degrees. You can look it up in Google Earth. These are synchronicities that cannot be ignored. And then he gets shot on the same side of the face as JFK did? And all the JFK connections? I mean, it's obvious. So, pretty crazy, right? All right. Well, I'm going to pop off here, you guys. Appreciate you guys showing up. Much love to everybody. Again, we'll be back on tomorrow. We will decode this animation called Brave, in which her mother is transformed into a bear, and she becomes the guardian of the bear. She becomes Arcturus. Much love, you guys. Take care and be safe.